So as the Battle of Anaxes draws to a close, let's discuss what happened to Anaxes following the end of the battle, at least in canon, and spoiler alert, it's a pretty short history. So let's just jump right into it. I'm Colin, and this is Sci-Fi Deep Dive. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, to head down below and hit that subscribe button. So, as I mentioned in my Legends vs. Canon sort of comparison for Anaxes' story, the story of Anaxes after the end of the battle and the end of the Clone Wars is relatively short and kind of sad for the state of the planet. So, let's kind of just dive right in with the end of the battle. At the end of the Battle of Anaxes, the Republic claimed victory over the Separatists, repelling a Separatist assault against the crucial Republic shipyard world and reclaiming Anaxes for the Republic. With the planet firmly under Republic control, Republic forces were able to be redeployed to other battlefields across the galaxy, allowing them to participate in the Outer Rim sieges going forward. Meanwhile, Anaxes would resume its work as a major Republic shipyard for the remainder of the war, albeit likely not to full effect as it had suffered significant damage during the battle fought there. However, it did remain in service for the remainder of the conflict, but not long after that. After the end of the war, shortly after the end of the war, some sort of large-scale cataclysm decimated Anaxes. You see, this planet, since it's used for starship construction, stores a large amount of starship fuel, that being hypermatter. The hypermatter reactor is the main power source for most of the large capital ships in Star Wars. Well, this hypermatter tends to be particularly reactive, so when a main reactor failed in one of these production facilities on Anaxes, it quickly triggered a large explosion within the planet's hypermatter reserves. This explosion ultimately devastated Anaxes, shattering the planet into multiple pieces and leaving just an asteroid field in its wake. A massive disaster. The end result of the destruction of Anaxes is obviously the end of the functionality of the shipyards, with a lot of the remnants of Anaxes being completely abandoned by their former occupants, left adrift in a large asteroid field. And that's the way it would stay for quite a while, with several minor instances bringing characters back to Anaxes, like, for example, during the rise of the Rebellion, the former Republic bases on Anaxes were used as minor sort of staging and scavenging areas for Rebel cells. We see this in Star Wars Rebels, where not only is it revealed that large chunks of Anaxes are still intact in some way, shape, or form, including the main garrison base we see during the Battle of Anaxes, but that there actually are some life forms still living among the wreckage on the scattered debris floating through space. Beyond that, though, we don't know much about what happens to Anaxes, or what's left of Anaxes, following the rise of the Rebellion and the end of the Galactic Civil War. But I do want to throw out there a little bit of a theory that I have that ties back to the destruction of Anaxes. It being a large shipyard world would have made it prominent in the Empire's new weapons development programs following their rise to power. We see often that these weapon development programs go horribly wrong, which has been apparent in this most recent season of The Bad Batch. So I wouldn't necessarily count it out that the whole story about a reactor failure causing a hypermatter explosion on Anaxes is a bit of a ruse set up by the Empire to try to throw people off the scent of what really happened to Anaxes. I think it's possible that Anaxes was destroyed in a failed weapons test carried out by the Galactic Empire at some point in the early days of that institution's existence. Not only would this be entirely within character for the Empire, seeing them callously throwing away planets for the sake of testing their own weird military creations, but it actually has happened before. We know at least a few instances where, in the Death Star's development process, a major malfunction caused the destruction of an entire city, or, in a few cases, entire worlds, and it was blamed on industrial accidents or other major sort of civilian mishaps. This seemed to happen quite a bit, specifically around testing for the power systems for the super laser, so I could see maybe some of that was going on Anaxes, and that's really what caused the destruction of the planet. That being said, that's just a theory based off of other things we've seen from other worlds around the galaxy during this same time period. As it stands, the official explanation is still that it was destroyed in a hypermatter explosion caused by a main reactor failure at one of the production plants on the planet. Interestingly, this differs quite a bit from Anaxes' Legends depiction, where it stays a prominent military world through the reign of the Empire and beyond. If you'd like to learn about the differences between Anaxes' canon story and Legend story, I'll leave a link up here to my video comparing the two different versions of the planet. And I'd like you to let me know down in the comments whether you think Anaxes was actually destroyed by a large-scale industrial accident related to this hypermatter storage facility, or do you think it was destroyed in an Imperial weapons test or some sort of weapons development program gone awry? And if you have anything else you'd like to see me cover in Star Wars, you could let me know down below in the comments. Last but not least, if you enjoyed this video, head down below, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon so you get notified when I upload new videos. So for Sci-Fi Deep Dive, I'm Colin, and I will see you next time.